I'm Emily. Welcome to Scars and Stories. If you like storytime vibes, hit subscribe and let's dive in together.
Today's story isn't just about heartbreak. It's about secrets buried under smiles, lies whispered in the dark, and the strength it takes to walk away with your head held high. You'll meet Jake, a man who thought he'd found stability, and Ree, the partner who shattered that trust in the most painful way. What begins as a promise of love soon twists into betrayal, tangled with another man, and a truth so explosive it changes everything. Stay with me until the end, because justice comes, and when it does, it's both brutal and satisfying. Jake was 31, the kind of man people described as dependable. Not flashy, not the life of the party, but steady. He worked a corporate job that paid decently, cooked at home most nights, and loved small routines, brewing his morning coffee, jogging the same 2 miles through his neighborhood, and sharing quiet dinners with his girlfriend Ree. They'd been together for 2 years and had lived together for 6 months. Ree, 28, was different. She had an energy that drew people in, playful, quick-witted, always with a story from her marketing firm job. She had friends, she had admirers, and sometimes she had too many texts buzzing her phone late at night. Jake noticed, but when he asked, she'd laugh it off. "Coworkers, babe. Just coworkers." He wanted to believe her. One crisp Saturday morning, Jake was cooking scrambled eggs when Ree walked in, pale but determined. In her hand was a plastic stick. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. Jake set the spatula down. A swirl of emotions hit him. It wasn't planned, but he could imagine adapting. He could imagine mornings with a baby, Ree laughing in the kitchen, his life shifting into something bigger. He wasn't upset, not until Ree added the words that froze him. "But Jake, I need a DNA test to confirm if it's yours or Ryan's." Ryan. The name hit Jake like ice water. Ree's coworker, the one who sent good morning texts, the one she had sworn was just a friend. Jake turned off the burner, his jaw tightening. "Tell me everything," he said. Ree broke. Tears, excuses, confessions. "It was late. We were working on a project. It just happened. Maybe once, maybe twice." Jake listened, silent, the air between them heavy. "So you were with both of us?" he asked finally. "It sounds awful when you put it that way," Ree said defensively. Jake didn't shout. He didn't throw the pan. Instead, he sat down slowly, his face unreadable. "Thank you for telling me," he said flatly. "Let's schedule a DNA test." Ree blinked, startled. She expected rage, maybe even violence. Instead, she found calm. Too calm. "You're not angry?" she whispered. "Oh, I'm furious," Jake answered. "But yelling won't fix this." That night, Jake called his brother Ethan, a nurse. He needed facts, not emotions. "Can you do a prenatal paternity test at 6 weeks?" he asked. "Possible, but 9 weeks is safer," Ethan said. "Why?" Jake explained everything. Ethan's voice turned sharp. "Get out now. Cheated once, she'll do it again. Whether it's yours or not, leave." But Jake didn't leave. Not yet. Beneath his calm, a plan began forming. Ree thought he was the safe one, the dependable man who would forgive, who would raise another man's child. She was wrong. Jake began watching, not obsessively, just carefully. Ree left her iPad open one night, screen still glowing when she went to shower. He glanced. The texts were not explicit, but damning in their own way. "Thinking of you. Last night was incredible." Sent right around the time Ree had said maybe once, maybe twice. He took screenshots, quietly sending them to his email. He didn't confront her, not yet. Ree believed he was docile, willing to look the other way. But Jake was already building a wall of evidence. The next step, Ryan. Jake dialed his number. The man hung up instantly. 5 minutes later, Ryan called back. "I didn't know she had a boyfriend," Ryan stammered. "Really?" "She lives with me," Jake said coldly. "Did she mention she's pregnant?" Silence stretched. Then Ryan whispered, "It might be mine." "Looks that way," Jake said. Ryan panicked. No way." "We used protection. I can't have a kid. I'm getting married in 4 months." "Married?" Jake repeated. "Yeah, to Arya. We've been together 5 years. It was a mistake." Jake's grip tightened on the phone. Arya, another woman tied to this web of betrayal. "How many times, Ryan?" Jake asked. Ryan hesitated. "A couple." Ree had said once or twice. Ryan admitted a couple. Jake pressed harder. Silence. Then Ryan muttered, 4, maybe 5. The pieces fell into place. Ree had minimized. Ryan had concealed. Both had lied. Jake's stomach churned, but his face stayed calm, even over the phone. "You'd better figure out how you're telling Arya," Jake said coldly, before hanging up. Meanwhile, Ree was playing the perfect girlfriend. She cooked elaborate dinners, folded Jake's laundry, and snuggled close on the couch. To outsiders, they looked blissful. But Jake noticed her phone lighting up at odd hours. Her quick flips of the screen when he entered the room. She thought she was clever. One evening, Ree tried to shift the ground. She sat Jake down, her eyes wide with forced sincerity. "Maybe we don't need the test," she suggested softly. "Even if it's Ryan's, you're here. You love me. Biology doesn't matter." Jake's eyes hardened. "It matters to me." Her tears spilled again. Lots of men raise kids that aren't biologically theirs. Jake didn't flinch. "By choice, Ree." Not because they were deceived, Ree lashed out. "Why are you so cold? Why can't you just trust me?" Jake gave a thin smile. "Trust is earned, not demanded." The house felt colder after that. Ree doubled down on affection, kissing his cheek, holding his hand, sending him sweet texts while he sat across from her. But Jake saw through it. Her guilt was a costume she wore too late. The next morning, Jake called in sick at work. Ree thought he was heading into the office, but he had another plan. He drove across town, parking near the building where Ryan worked. He waited until he saw him enter the lobby. "Ryan." Jake's voice cut across the marble floor. Ryan stiffened, glancing back, panic in his eyes. He tried to speedwalk toward the elevator. "We need to talk about Ree," Jake said firmly. Co-workers turned their heads, whispers rippling. Ryan flushed. "Not here," he hissed. "Then where?" Jake pressed. "You dodge my calls." "You hide enough." They ended up in a small coffee shop nearby. Ryan's shirt clung with nervous sweat. "I'll sign away rights," he blurted out, fingers trembling around his cup. "If it's mine, I don't want it." "I want nothing to do with her." Jake leaned back, watching him. "What about Ree?" Ryan scoffed. "She told me you two were basically done. That you were just roommates. That you were cold, distant, and she was leaving soon." Jake's chest burned, not from surprise, but from confirmation. Lies layered on lies. He tapped the table. "Show me." Ryan hesitated, then scrolled through his phone. Screenshots of Ree's messages flashed before Jake's eyes. "Jake doesn't really care about me. We're just living together until I can move out." Ryan's hand shook. "Don't tell Arya," he pleaded. Jake's eyes hardened. "I'm not your counselor, Ryan. Tell her yourself. She deserves truth." That evening, Jake drove home to find Ree in the kitchen, humming as she stirred pasta sauce. She kissed him at the door, cheerful, pretending as if their world wasn't cracking apart. "Dinner's almost ready," she chirped. Jake studied her smile. It was too bright, too rehearsed. She was playing the part of the perfect partner, the doting girlfriend who cooked, cleaned, and whispered "I love you" before bed. But underneath, guilt poisoned every gesture. Late that night, while Rhys slept, Jake sat in the living room with his laptop open. He replayed everything: Rhys' confession, Ryan's panic, the lies about being roommates. Slowly, Jake's plan took shape. The truth would come out, and not on Rhys' terms. The next day, Jake reached out to Arya. It was a simple message: "We should talk. It's about Ryan and Rhys." He expected anger or denial. Instead, Arya agreed to meet. They sat in a quiet cafe, the hum of espresso machines around them. Arya was striking, composed, but her eyes betrayed tension. "Tell me," she said simply. Jake laid out the story, the pregnancy, the DNA test ahead, the lies. Arya listened, jaw tight, hands clenched around her cup. When he finished, Arya exhaled slowly. "I had a feeling," she admitted. "Ryan was distant. Late nights, excuses. I didn't want to believe it, but thank you. Thank you for telling me." For the first time, Jake felt a flicker of solidarity. He wasn't alone in this storm. Arya was caught in it too. Two betrayed hearts, facing the same liars. And together, they could decide how the truth would break. The days before the DNA appointment dragged like slow poison. Rhys floated around the apartment like the perfect partner. She kissed Jake's cheek in the mornings, cooked dinners she'd never attempted before, even folded his laundry with a sweetness that felt manufactured. But Jake wasn't fooled. The more she poured on affection, the more he saw desperation. Rhys was trying to secure her position, to lock him down emotionally before the truth came out. One evening, Rhys tried again to talk him out of the test. She clutched his arm, eyes wet. "Jake, we don't need this. Even if it's not yours, it doesn't change us. You're the man I love." "You'd be such a good father." Jake looked at her evenly. "If you were so certain, you wouldn't be afraid of the truth." That night, Jake called Arya again. He explained the plan. She and Ryan needed to show up at the clinic. Arya hesitated only a moment before agreeing. "She deserves to see me there," Arya said. "And Ryan, he deserves to face it all in the open." The night before the appointment, Jake barely slept. Rhys curled against him, breathing softly, her arm draped across his chest. To anyone else, it would look like love, but to Jake, it felt like a trap. He stared at the ceiling, silent, already planning his exit. The morning came. Rhys dressed carefully, makeup flawless, trying to present the image of a glowing, expectant mother. She slipped her hand into Jake's as they walked into the clinic. Her grip was firm, almost possessive. In the waiting room, Jake pretended calm. Rhys leaned against him, whispering sweetly. But her eyes flicked toward every door, every person who entered. She was nervous, though she hid it under a smile. And then, the twist Jake had engineered unfolded. The door opened. Ryan walked in, his fiancée Arya beside him. The air shifted instantly. Rhys' smile froze, then shattered. Her voice snapped, too loud for the room. "Why is she here?" Jake's reply was calm, cutting. "Because she deserves to know the truth. Just like I do." Arya's glare was ice. "So you're the woman sleeping with my fiancé," she said, her voice sharp enough to slice. "You didn't just steal my trust. You tried to drag him into fatherhood behind my back." The waiting room went silent. Even the receptionist paused, eyes wide. Rhys stammered, I didn't know." Ryan says you've known for months, Arya snapped. The nurse appeared, calling their names. The confrontation would have to pause, but the damage was done. Ree's perfect mask was gone. Inside the consultation room, Jake sat straighter, calm on the kai. Outside, heart pounding inside. Dr. Martinez, the physician, explained the procedure. Blood from Ree, samples from the men. For accuracy, all possible fathers should be tested. Ree tried one last time to control the situation. Ryan doesn't need to be here, she rushed. It's between Jake and me. But Jake's voice was firm. No, we all deserve clarity. Ryan shifted uncomfortably, but Arya's stare kept him rooted. The nurse took the samples, the room thick with silence. The stage was set. Outside, as they left the clinic, Ree clutched Jake's arm again. Her eyes were wild now, not soft but desperate. You ambushed me, she hissed. Jake looked at her coolly. No, Ree. I gave the truth an audience. The clinic waiting room felt like a pressure cooker. Ree sat stiffly, her hands folded tightly in her lap. Jake beside her looked calm, but his eyes carried storms. Across the room, Ryan fidgeted, while Arya sat upright, every inch of her radiating control. At last, Dr. Martinez entered, a folder in her hand. The room fell silent. I have the results, she said gently. Ree leaned forward, her voice trembling. Just tell us. The doctor nodded. Mr. Davidson. She looked at Jake. You are not the biological father. Ree gasped, color draining from her face. Jake felt the sting, but he had braced himself. He exhaled slowly. But Dr. Martinez wasn't finished. Mr. Morrison, she turned to Ryan. You are also not the biological father. The room erupted. What? Ree shrieked. This is a mistake, Ryan stammered. Arya let out a sharp laugh, disbelieving. Dr. Martinez raised her hand. There's more. Miss Thompson. She looked at Ree with steady eyes. Your blood work shows you experienced what's called a chemical pregnancy. It was a very early miscarriage. The embryo was not viable. Your body has already processed it. Ree's mouth opened, but no sound came. But I had symptoms. I was sick. The test was positive. Stress and hormones can mimic symptoms, the doctor explained. The home test caught the short window before the miscarriage. There is no viable pregnancy. Now Arya's laughter cut through the tension, bitter but triumphant. So you weren't just cheating, you were juggling 3 men and lying about a baby that isn't even here. Jake turned slowly to Ree. His voice was low, but every word struck like a blade. How many, Ree? How many others? Ree broke down, sobbing. There was one more, at a conference. It was nothing, just a fling. One more? Arya barked. So 3 men in total? Ryan buried his face in his hands. Arya looked at him with scorn. You thought she was special? She was running rotations, Jake stood. He didn't shout. He didn't curse. He simply rose with the calm of a man done carrying someone else's sins. I'm finished, he said. With lies, with you, with all of this. Ree reached for his arm, desperate. Jake, please, I need you. You can't leave me after this. Jake pulled free. You should have thought of that before. Arya stood as well, facing Ryan. You're coming home with me, not as my fiancé, but as a man who has to explain himself to my family. Ryan wilted under her glare. Jake walked out of the clinic into the sharp morning air. Behind him, chaos swirled. Ree's sobs, Ryan's protests, Arya's sharp words. But for Jake, every step away felt lighter. It had been 2 weeks since the chaos of the clinic. Jake had moved out the very next morning. While Ree stayed at her sister Mira's place, He packed his things, signed a new lease, and left behind nothing but a short note. The rent is covered until the end of the month. After that, it's your problem. Ree tried to spin her story. On social media, she painted herself as a heartbroken woman, abandoned after a miscarriage. But Arya wasn't silent. She commented under the post, revealing the truth. Screenshots spread quickly. Ree deleted her accounts within hours. Desperate, Ree showed up at Jake's workplace one afternoon. She shouted in the lobby, called him heartless, begged him to come back. Security escorted her out. Jake's boss, who had already heard rumors, gave him the week off with pay. "Nobody needs that kind of drama," the boss muttered. Ryan, meanwhile, wasn't spared either. Arya didn't leave him immediately, but she put him on what she called lifelong probation. She dragged him into counseling, and he quit his job to avoid Ree altogether. He now worked under Arya's father at the family plumbing business, a daily reminder that his choices had consequences. Mira, Ree's sister, eventually reached out to Jake. She apologized, saying she had warned Ree before. Ree had always juggled men, always played victim when caught. "You didn't deserve this," Mira said. Jake only nodded. He was done giving energy to Ree's chaos. As for Jake, his new apartment was smaller, quieter. No drama, no late-night texts, no lies hanging in the air, just peace. He started therapy too, to untangle the knots of betrayal. His therapist told him, "You handled this better than most. You kept calm, protected yourself legally and financially, and you walked away with dignity intact." One evening, an unknown number texted Jake. "This is Derek's wife. Heard you were with Ree. Can we talk?" Turns out Ree had also hooked up with a married man she met at a conference. His wife found the receipts, literally, for champagne and room service for two. She was divorcing him, taking everything. Jake only wished her good luck. The last message Jake ever received from Ree came weeks later. "You threw away something real," she wrote. Jake stared at it, then typed back, "I know exactly what I threw away." And then he blocked her. And so, dear listeners, Jake walked away. Not unscarred, but stronger. He saw the truth, faced it without rage, and refused to be trapped in someone else's web of lies. Ree lost everything: her partner, her image, her respect. Ryan learned that betrayal carries a price that doesn't vanish overnight. And Arya, she found her strength in confronting the truth head-on. What lesson do we take from this? Trust is fragile, and once broken, it cannot be glued back with sweet words or crocodile tears. If someone shows you who they are, believe them. And when betrayal knocks at your door, remember, you don't have to scream to win. Sometimes the quiet exit, the calm refusal, is the loudest victory. This is Emily, and you've been listening to Scars and Stories. If you found truth, strength, or even just a little satisfaction in today's story, make sure to subscribe, share this with a friend, and join me again for the next tale, where betrayal always meets its end.